I have the same disposition. They mirror the judgments that I already have about myself. That they're reflecting back things that I already have prejudged about the world, about myself, about things. That person now, it's a reflection of my inner mindscape that is not a part of God. Preconceived ideas based on what all? Way you've been brought up, the way various things that happen in your lives, what you've been taught, the kind of research you've done, maybe if you've been in school, and all those cumulative ideas, which I think are so great to have, which are how I make my judgments on the world, and I'm treasuring them as my specialness, are the reasons why I get these reflections back at me. If we want to see the happy dream, all of it means that I have to say, I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know who that person is. I don't even know who I am. I have to say, I don't know. That becomes that moment of willingness, of moving that dial. I don't know. I think I know. And so long as I hold on to I know, there's no way I'm going to get a different reflection back. I'm going to get all my thoughts about how this world is. Now I get confirmation of what I have already believed. And those things that make us feel like we understand our world are the ones that I think the Course is saying, could you just let it, maybe you don't know, but could you just keep your hand off of that one for just a little bit and let me show you something different. Let me show you what's hidden. It's the holiness. It's the bright light of love that's shining back in all living things. And I can't see it so long as I think I know what it already is. Thanks.
It is His sinlessness that eyes that see can look upon. It is His loveliness they see in everything. And it is He they look for everywhere and find no sight, nor place, nor time where He is not. Within your brother's holiness, the perfect frame for your salvation and the world's, is set the shining memory of Him in whom your brother lives, and you along with him. Let not your eyes be blinded by the veil of specialness that hides the face of Christ from him and you as well. And let the fear of God no longer hold the vision you were meant to see from you. Your brother's body shows not Christ to you. He is set forth within His holiness. His holiness is a revelation to me. I said we started this thing off. I don't see holiness anywhere. Mm-hmm. The holiness delivers me. The holiness can only be seen when time and space is not. Time and space is process. It's objects. It's bodies. So when I'm in a relationship like the one I'm talking about, it's up to me to say, I'm seeing a body, I'm seeing actions, I'm seeing behaviors, I'm seeing histories, I'm seeing patterns. It's all blindness. I see nothing. Mm-hmm. I see nothing. All I'm seeing is the inside of my own head bouncing off of the holiness of the Son of God. Mm-hmm. It's not my place to create this world. It's not my place. Or put it this way, it is my place to release the creation of the happy dream by not condemning that person, by saying this is what they are because I see them that way.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And when we can see someone sinless, lots of things I think begin to change. So anyone, you can practice with anyone who you have some kind of, a rub with.
So it says, and let the fear of God no longer hold the vision you were meant to see from you. Don't let the fear of God. So in this situation, trying to dial it in with this person that I'm having a relationship with, it's fear of God. You see, we talk back, so critical, self-honesty. What values am I holding that are manifesting the world I think I'm seeing that I don't like that much? What hidden values am I not examining? The hidden values we talked about couple of chapters or so ago.
Right. Which keeps specialness intact. Those
Yeah,
hidden values.
because I've got to understand, in this relationship, I have a little secret treasure that I know all about this person. I've seen them from way back. I know what those patterns are. And I'm so wise that I know how they need to change. There's nothing new there. It's something that I have well labeled and worked out in my little secret, ledger, my little secret sketchbook. And so what this course is saying is, burn your sketchbook, burn your ledger. You don't know anything.
That's right.
You don't know what you're talking about. You don't even know what you're looking at, except you can be sure that you're looking at the inside of basically your own head.
Right.
Because of what? A fear of God. That manifests, my fear of God manifests as a secret glee to manifest hell. In other words, difficulties and circumstances. And then maybe if I'm a successful tyrant with this person, I can twist their arm up. I'm not going to do this. I'm just using this figuratively. Twist their arm up behind their back until they say, "Uncle, I'll do it the way you want to do it."
Yeah.
And then I go, another victory in my little book.
So, I mean, now the challenge is next time you guys have a conversation, as the phone's ringing, you just step back and say, Holy Spirit, you got it.
Well, and that's the deal. Now, that's a good point, because what happens is, let's say, phone rings, Holy Spirit, you've got this. Now, the one that picks it up and says, hello, like this, it's still me. It's still, I still have those judgments of myself. And I have to somehow find that quiet distance that's not obvious to be vigilant for the radiance in the conversation, the radiance in my feelings or moods, the radiance in that person's tone and direction, to be vigilant for those things more than reinforcing my own contribution as an ego,
right.
What I know. In other words, don't fight the old fight. Don't die on that hill again and again and again.
I agree. Maybe we'll have a resolution the next time, or some answer, a miracle next time around. Okay, paragraph 7. Choose then his body or his holiness as what you want to see, and which you choose is yours to look upon. Yet will you choose in countless situations and through time that seems to have no end, until the truth be your decision. For eternity is not regained by still one more denial of Christ in him. And where is your salvation if he is but a body? Where is your peace but in his holiness? And where is God himself but in the part of him he set forever in your brother's holiness, that you might see the truth about yourself, set forth at last in terms you recognized and understood.
So what is it all about? So what's it all about? This is where we get to the illusion. The illusion problem is I'm on the phone conversation. I've said, Holy Spirit, let me be aware of radiance and not just the same patterns I'm always familiar with, whatever that is. Let me see this usually invisible, radiant presence. What form will that revelation take? Is it going to be just a good feeling? It says...
I'd say you don't know. Because the Holy... It is... The thing it is, there'll be some kind of recognition that the holiness is there.
Yes, but it's going to be in the form of, as it says in that line 6 in paragraph 7. Where is God himself? But in that part of him, he set forever in your brother's holiness, that you might see the truth about yourself. So I have a revelation of the truth about myself, something I haven't wanted to see. It's not going to be a nasty truth. You can hear it, right? You can hear it. You're getting ready. Well, it's going to find out I talk too much. I'm going to find out that I'm obnoxious.
No, it has nothing to
I'm
do
going to
with
find out that I'm ignorant.
it. Those are all your specialness.
Right. That's all the specialnesses.
Yeah, that's all the
What you're going to
specialness.
find out is that you're a holy son of God.
Yes.
That's what you find out. And it's freeing to me. It's freeing to the other. And it also is a very expansive and a radiant expansion.
Yes. Yes. That's how eternity is regained.
So paragraph 8.
Yes.
Your brother's holiness is sacrament and benediction unto you. His errors cannot withhold God's blessing from himself, nor you who see him truly. His mistakes can cause delay, which it is given you to take from him, that both may end a journey that has never begun and needs no end. What never was is not a part of you, yet you will think it is, until you realize that it is not a part of him who stands beside you. He is the mirror of yourself, wherein you see the judgment you have laid on both of you. The Christ in you beholds his holiness. Your specialness looks on his body.
Looks not.
Look,
Looks on his body.
Your specialness looks on his body and beholds him not.
Right ahead.
Now, I talked about this a while back, and I thought that in this line, his mistakes can cause delay, which it is given you to take from him, in the first part of that paragraph, as a license to go off and change people. You know, that I become holy and centered and calm and steeped in A Course in Miracles and the teachings and miracle-mindedness, and I almost feel like I'm on clouds of glory in a sense, and I go through my life in that sense, and I now have a license from the book or within myself or my community to heal and bless. And so I have these sort of healing and blessing techniques, like I'm going to be let's say, a Course in Miracles counselor, which I think could be a good thing. I'm not saying it's not a good thing. It could be a great thing. But in terms of me running around and tapping people to heal them, I think that this has to be understood. I think it has to be understood to realize it's not about me as a body or me as a special entity or me as a fictional self reaching a level of goodness or perfection or wholeness so that now I can go off and distribute that to others by fixing them so that they don't drag us down, like I said,
Right.
for trillions
now
of
you've taken
years.
on some form of grandiosity.
Right. Or just goodness.
Yeah.
What if you don't consider grandiosity just, and they just don't yet? They're the Hottentots.
I know, but that's
You're the British Empire.
View.
You're the British Empire.
That's what I think.
And they're the Hottentots.
Right.
You see yourself. You got a pith helmet. You wear all white. You wear you ride elephants in the jungle or whatever, and then there are these people who are barefoot and all they want to do is kill you, and you say, obviously they have problem with violence. I'm going to heal them, right?
Even though you're the alien. Yes.
Do you understand? That's what we it's a problem we have.
Yeah,
of thinking we know more than the other person. And I'm just warning that that's not what this means. So we need to understand what this means rather than just drop a torpedo on it. What do you think it means?
Okay.
What do you think it means?
I wasn't saying that, but we were saying the same thing because I said it was a grandiose position to take.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is, so what does it mean? I understand that, but what does this mean?
Oh.
His errors cannot withhold God's blessing from himself, nor you who see him truly. In other words, I hear this thing where sometimes the other person doesn't see themselves truly, but I am able to see him truly because I've been doing A Course in Miracles.
Oh, I see.
And I'm saying that that's not what this is saying.
It's not what it's saying at all. It's that by allowing that willingness, that wish to have the healing, the brother's holiness is now a sacrament and benediction unto me, because it's being revealed. His errors cannot withhold God's blessing from himself, nor you who see him truly. his errors, the brother's errors, cannot withhold God's blessing from himself, from the brother, nor you who see him truly. Because now God's blessing is never on just one. It's always a blessing that once I receive the blessing by allowing myself to suspend those judgments that we were talking about, suspend them, and now something else comes in, and I actually feel usually a warmth, a kind of, it's not love like you just say, I just love this. No, it's a love that is extremely calming, warm. It's like you're enveloped in something warm and loving.
Right.
That happens when I suspend that judgment. And when that happens, both the brother and myself are now receiving that same blessing from God instantly. That is there. It may only last a couple seconds. But it's been answered by that feeling of non-judgment. That's the only way I can say it. It's not there. Suddenly, it's just not there. I'm not holding on to, they need to see it another way, or I need to see it another way. I'm not holding on to it. Let it go.
Let me offer another angle on this, because this is what sort of occurred to me when I did this several days ago, actually. Here we're calling a situation to where I see a brother who has, let's say problems as I interpret them. Mm-hmm. I see the brother, and it's saying that those can't delay God's, they can cause delay. His mistakes can cause delay, which is God's waiting room, the time space. Mm-hmm. God's waiting. It can cause time problems, which are illusions, which it is given you to take from him. In other words, I'm here to remove that illusion from him. Okay? Follow me.
And how do you do it?
Now wait, let me finish.
Okay.
He's here to remove this illusion from him, that both may end a journey that has never begun. So that's both, I'll say, meaning myself and him. That, that's the journey. That both may end a journey that has never begun and needs no end. Now, I just want to recognize that I'm making an assumption there, and it's, again, one of those anomalies. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know exactly what both the Course is mentioning here. So let's continue. Stay with me, please.
Okay.
Yet, what never was is not a part of you, yet you will think it is. Now, how does that look? That means in a political situation, I see a movement that threatens me of any kind, no matter what side of the aisle I'm on. I see a political movement, it threatens me. It's permanently a problematic situation. It's permanently disturbing. It permanently bothers me. That means what never was is not a part of you. That is, I'm admitting to myself that this problem is connected to me. It is a part of me. I've accepted this problem into my sphere, into my person, and because I see a problem with that person, group, situation, setting, circumstance, movement, political trend, whatever it is, I have accepted that as part of me. Now, the Course is then talking in the transcendent form. Of course I don't think it's part of me. The reason I hate it is because it's not a part of me. It's very different than me. This is where you have to recognize the metaphysics of the Course. If I'm disturbed by something that's out there, it is bloody well a part of me. That you have to take that on faith and belief.
I agree.
It's not separate from me. My disturbances and my upsets are not about things that are different than me. Mm-hmm. It's about things that are the same as me. And I have to recognize that's the metaphysic I'm presenting. So now we're going forward here, where I've just accepted I'm at loggerheads with some circumstance I see in the world. I'm at loggerheads, meaning I am permanently that thing that I think I sort of course I'm not going to say I hate it, because I got rid of hate a long time ago, mm-hmm. right? I just feel uncomfortable with it. Mm-hmm. It's less than desirable. It's less than ideal. In other words, murderous rage. So in any case, I've accepted this thing as part of me. Mm-hmm. Please stay with me. He is the mirror of yourself, wherein you see the judgment you have laid on both of you. That person out there. He is the mirror of myself. The Christ in, okay, and right here, the line I missed is, yet you will think it is part of me until you realize it is not a part of him who stands beside you. Now suddenly we've got someone standing beside me. Over there I had this problem with this movement, person, circumstance, or situation. Suddenly the Course has that person standing beside me. I read this in all of the Course Miracles work and words. This is my own physicality. It's my own physical body that I have judgments of. I have the chooser, I have the fictional self.
Isn't it being reflected by the brother at that point? That very thing that is now, that you call standing beside you?
Yes. But what I hear the Course saying here is that there are situations that seem unsolvable. You're not getting your miracle. You're not getting your holy instant. You're not getting it's just not incoming. My little willingness must be lacking.
Right, yeah.
So where is the little
happen.
willingness? It's because I'm proceeding with a nested distortion of who I actually even am. So I've assumed that I've got this thing solved here. Now, if I think I've got this thing solved, and I see something over there that's hanging up the works in terms of being spiritually flawed somehow, over there, all the drug addicts and violent people, you know. But I've got it all together. I'm a vegan, you know. I do my thing, totally pristine and pure, you know. So I'm obviously not them. The judgment I have on them that seems intractably problematic, and it won't go away, and there's no miracle possible apparently, and time just seems to drag on, and it's going to take 10,000 years to fix this thing. That kind of mentality, right?
Yeah.
Even if I say it's going to take a week to fix this thing, it might as well be 10,000 years because I've made my time my savior. I've made time and space my savior. I've already elected to use the ego, or I couldn't use time and space as my savior. So why is this happening to me? Why am I not able to immediately access the truffles, the treasures that God has laid out, that the Course says are so readily available to me? It's because I have a cherished, special opinion of who I am. The one beside me. The one beside me is my own self as I judge myself going into situations. In other words, I have a chooser that needs to choose with the Holy Spirit. It's totally independent of the body. It has nothing to do with the body. But if I have a cherished idea about who and what I am, it's possible to be in situations that are unsolvable, quote unquote unsolvable. And I think this is a definite reference to that.
Well, that is the specialness that it's talking about.
Yet you will think it is until you realize it is not a part of him who stands beside you. In other words, you're not locked in this struggle, body a mano a mano. You're not hand-to-hand combat, you against this other thing. And if that other thing seems permanently unsolvable or difficult or problematic or disturbing my peace, whether it's Penny the dog or a phone call with some person, strong possibility that the wound is very, very, very close to home.
So, but let's just go back just a minute. So, because we went all the way around. It says, his mistakes can cause delay, which it is given you to take from him, and both may end a journey that has never begun and needs no end. Okay, so we started with that, where the mistakes of the brother, which is given you to take from him, that we can end this journey that has never begun and needs no end. What never was is not a part of you. Okay, this journey is never really is, or never was. Yet you will think it is until you realize that it is not a part of him who stands beside you.
Okay, do you understand the shift in language?
Yeah, I do.
You hear the shift in language?
Yeah, that's what I do. Yet you will think that this journey is necessary and that it has happened and it's still continuing until you realize that it is not a part of him. And I always say it's the brother who stands beside you. He is the mirror of yourself, wherein you see the judgment you have laid on both of you. He's the mirror of myself. So the one who I've been laying, that's why I say it's still what appears to be other, not necessarily the brother as in that divided self, one being the ego and one being the, with the Holy Spirit.
Whatever it is, right.
I see it still as the brother, that him so stands beside you. He is the mirror of yourself, wherein you see the judgment you have laid on both of you. The judgments that we hold against anyone, if I was to really look at it many times, it's what I said when I was talking about my friend Chris, who, she's going off about somebody. She's just ranting and raving and saying this person is doing this and that and the other thing. And then in my interior, I'm going, you need to drop that. You need to stop doing that. The very thing that I want to strangle is within me, because now I want to strangle her. I have the same disposition. They mirror the judgments that I already have about myself. That's how I read it. That they're reflecting back things that I already have prejudged about the world, about myself, about things. That person now, it's a reflection of my inner mindscape that is not a part of God. It's not a part of God. That's not the thought of God. Those are the thoughts I have about people, places, relationships, stuff on flat screens and everything else. Preconceived ideas based on what all? Way you've been brought up, the way various things that happen in your lives, what you've been taught, the kind of research you've done, maybe if you've been in school, and all those cumulative ideas, which I think are so great to have, which are how I make my judgments on the world, and I'm treasuring them as my specialness, are the reasons why I get these reflections back at me. Because all of it, if we want to see the happy dream, all of it means that I have to say, I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know who that person is. I don't even know who I am. I have to say, I don't know. That becomes that moment of willingness, of moving that dial. I don't know. I think I know. And so long as I hold on to I know, there's no way I'm going to get a different reflection back. I'm going to get all my thoughts about how this world is reflecting back.
Right.
Mental health is on the, mental health issues are all on the rise. Oh, guess what? There it is.
I see it
there
over
it
there.
is.
Yeah, sure.
I see it there over there.
It's not me.
Nobody had to tell me that one. I've seen it everywhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
So now I get confirmation of what I have already believed. And those things that make us feel like we understand our world are the ones that I think the Course is saying, could you just let it, maybe you don't know, but could you just keep your hand off of that one for just a little bit and let me show you something different. Let me show you what's hidden. It's the holiness. It's the bright light of love that's shining back in all living things. And I can't see it so long as I think I know what it already is.
Well, eventually soon I want to do something, and I'll probably use clips or explore it, but I'll voice over or something. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I want to explore this thing that I've been dancing with for months now. And I think that there's a radical truth, a radical actually insight. And the insight is something like this. There are circumstances to where there's a final secret place that I have within myself, a secret specialness that I keep within myself. And in the world out there, sometimes there are circumstances that seem to resist solving, resist healing. They stand as a perpetual puzzle, conundrum, a mystery that always leaves me with a bit of doubt about scratching my head about how real God really is. I'm not really sure. Always, plausible deniability about the validity of the Course or the effectiveness of miracles or the reality of miracles. It's a special place I keep within myself, that there are circumstances in the world, whether they relate to money or power or, geopolitics. Sometimes they can be over there so that they're just not accessible to me. My problems can be over there, like maybe it's the big crunch. Wow, I can't sleep at night because the whole planet's going to end in an inferno, the big crunch, and I can't sleep. So, that's impossible to solve. And so that's like a permanent lack of peace because of either global warming is going to kill us all, or the big crunch is going to kill us all, or something, or just human hubris or whatever is going to kill us all. Those are the big crimes, right? And they stand as permanent fixtures, unsolvable by any miracle or anything. Let's just, do you see that? Aren't there some things that stand that way as permanently impossible?
They seem to be.
And what I'm saying here is that when those are there, whether they're closer than that in terms of family dynamics or cultural dynamics or historical dynamics, if they keep being there, I'm going to say that my insight on it is that the problem is the icon that I have chosen to play this game. I'm not questioning the icon that I have chosen to be in this conversation. Me, my fictional self. I've questioned everything in the world except the validity of myself. And and I think I've got that self ironed out. I know it well. It's well cultured. It's well intended. And so that it's invisible to me.
I agree.
It's almost like my brother. He bought a new house, and it's actually a very old house, and it needs a lot of help. But in order to feel comfortable in that house, he had guys come in and spend a bunch of money to get a really good bathroom, a good closet, a good bedroom, so that he can retreat into this thing that's like a suburban getaway. But the rest of the house is like whatever, half-inch thick of dust and, stuff falling off and whatever. But he can feel safe and holy in that tiny little enclave of a home. And I'm saying that we all do that within ourselves. And the more difficult the problem is, because you've asked several times, how come I keep running into the same pattern? And I could say the same thing in different parts of my life. How come I keep running into this? Or why does it seem impossible to deal with? Or just check in with myself and go, I don't think this is going to go well. It doesn't seem like it can. I think that the player in that might be this special relationship I have right here, that I'm not allowing that reflection that you're talking about. I'm not allowing it to reflect off of that part of myself. I've got like a little curtain over me.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And so it can't reflect. I won't even let myself see what's being reflected.
Oh, okay.
I'm obscuring it from myself, and that the Course is referring to it here.
Well, it means that we're keeping it other, So the brother is other, as opposed to that which is really the same, which means all the specialness. I can either look at his body or his specialness or whatever it is, and I can say, see, I told you they were going to do blah, 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 blah. I was right about that. I saw him doing, still eating those donuts down there when he said he was on a diet, whatever it is, whatever you're right about, stick your thumb up. And that always keeps it other, because I I prejudged, I said these things and everything else. And it keeps that other person imprisoned and myself. And then I have to look at, what am I hiding from myself that, allows me to sneak in whatever it is? That person, it's a donut. Me, it's, staying on the internet a little bit too long or whatever. Whatever it is, there's these different things. And I say, that's not what I do. That's not me.
Sometimes there's a shocking revelation of, as it said earlier, a shocking revelation of who I really am.
Yeah, I know. Those are frightening.
Yeah.
Those are frightening moments. And then you go, wow. And it isn't, okay, and I'm just going to clarify, it isn't who you really are. It's a reflection of the one who made that icon. It's a reflection of the made up self that says, see, and then that made up self is judging the other made up self.
I know, but that's what I said before.
And we crucify ourselves, each one.
But crucifixion ends in death. Crucifixion doesn't end in a happy ending. Crucifixion has no happy ending. Crucifixion ends in death. It
so you're
ends
saying
in
that
the end.
So that thing that I think is me has to die.
It has to die, and it will not. It will likely, as the Course says in many places, it won't be that comfortable.
Right.
It's not like, hey, great, I finally found out. No, it's like, oh, damn, that's depressing, or whatever, or worse.
I know.
I'll tell you what, it's worse. It's not, wow, that's depressing. It's a shocking destruction of some sense of having it together that, and then now I'm talking personally, but I know it's there, Yeah. I know it's there.
Right. Paragraph 9. See him as what he is, that your deliverance may not be long. A senseless wandering without a purpose and without accomplishment of any kind is all the other choice can offer you. Futility of function not fulfilled will haunt you while your brother lies asleep, till what has been assigned to you is done, and he is risen from the past. He who condemned himself, and you as well, is given you to save from condemnation along with you. And both shall see God's glory in his Son, whom you mistook as flesh, and bound to laws that have no power over him at all. Well, we covered a lot of it.
Yeah.
See him as what he is, that your deliverance may not be long. That's huge, because again, it's asking, won't you please just lay down those judgments, just let them go for a little bit, so that you're not in this senseless wandering without purpose and without accomplishment of any time. Because the only accomplishment is the healing. The only accomplishment that we want here is the healing of our perceptual reality that keeps us enslaved here and perpetually crucified, by the way. Okay, so if futility of function not fulfilled will haunt you while your brother lies asleep, till what has been assigned to you, to me, is done, and he's risen from the past.
Okay, so I'm talking about some person, some abstract thing that I've got going on. And this is the last sentence in that. And both shall see God's glory in his Son, whom you mistook as flesh, and bound to laws that have no power over him at all. Okay? So those laws, the laws of temperament, constitution, various, physical predispositions, histories, tendencies, those are all laws that I see him bound to. In other words, I see him and he and I both working towards peace, the peace of Christ, according to those laws. But those laws can only create damnation. They can't create health. They are the crucifixion themselves. And so if I think I see these things working things out, and I'm vigilant for how those laws will tweak or change or drop or modify in some way, if that's what I'm looking for, I stay in crucifixion. I stay there and I keep him in the crucifixion as well.
Yes.
Because it's going on. Should I go on to paragraph 10?
Mm-hmm.
Would you not gladly realize these laws are not for you? Then see him not as a prisoner to them. It cannot be what governs part of God holds not for all the rest. You place yourself under the laws you see as ruling him. Think then how the great love of God for you must be that he has given you a part of him to save from pain and give you happiness. And never doubt but that your specialness will disappear before the will of God, who loves each part of him with equal love and care. The Christ in you can see your brother truly. Would you decide against the holiness he sees? So this Christ in me that looks into this situation is the only vision there is, okay? And the vision that I have sees nothing but history and these laws that it's talking about. The Course is saying, do you understand? None of that matters. Time doesn't matter. Patterns don't matter. All these fundamentals that I think are actually axioms, parts of it. You know, it's like bicycle has two wheels. It has gears. It has pedals. It has, that's how the thing works. It doesn't fly.
Right.
There are certain laws to a bicycle. And it's saying this, we're not talking about bicycles here. We're talking about this world that's only here to heal me. That's what it's for. It's not like a bicycle that rolls its wheels. It's more like a bicycle that's here to heal me.
Right.
It's not a bicycle that's here to ride across the country or roll or just be well oiled or be in good shape. It's only a bicycle that's here to heal the rider.
Yeah, okay. I can see that. And so those laws are no longer for you or the brother. Then see him not as a prisoner to them. It cannot be what governs part of God holds not for all the rest. So now it's saying, whatever happens for the brother or for you it's equal in love and care. There's nothing that God gives that is not for just you. It's not special. It gives to the whole thing. And if you receive it, it's received among the others that you have looked upon. So this is the situation where I can see by my suspension of my judgments about myself or the other. Okay, to me it doesn't matter where it begins. I just say that if I do that, God is going to heal both at the same time, because whether I receive it for myself and I feel this change in myself because I don't condemn myself now for judging the other one, okay, because you can start to do that particular trick. Oh, stop that judgment, and everything else, and then condemn yourself for being the judger. Now I need a healing from my judgments, I'm the sinner. So either way, if I give it to God so that it may experience that unity, both parties, which aren't separate, end up receiving the blessing of God. They both receive it. Think then how great the love of God for you must be, that he has given you a part of him, that's the brother, to save from pain and give you happiness. And never doubt but that your specialness will disappear before the will of God, who loves each part, that means the brother and yourself, of him with equal love and care. He loves both, if you just want to use one person or all of it. The Christ in you can see the brother truly. Would you decide against the holiness he sees? And then you can relax and say, no, I don't want to decide against the holiness God sees. I don't want to. I know I am, but I don't want to, It always gives you these questions to reflect on. Shall I go on?
Yeah.
Okay, paragraph 11. Specialness is the function that you gave yourself. It stands for you alone, as self-created, self-maintained, in need of nothing, and unjoined with anything beyond the body. In its eyes, you are a separate universe, with all the power to hold itself complete within itself, with every entry shut against intrusion and every window barred against the light. Always attacked and always furious with anger, always fully justified, you have pursued this goal with vigilance. You never thought to yield, and effort that you never thought to cease. And all this grim determination is this: you wanted specialness to be the truth. So that's the whole thing. That's the bars that keep me from letting go and having the brother and myself be healed by the blessing of God as one. This hunkering in about my specialness. That's what it does. I don't think it needs that much more said about it unless you think it needs more than that.
I can feel as we're reading this, I can feel that I talk about this fictional self a lot, which is a little bit like either a coat hanger or a series of coat hooks on a wall or something like that. And there are different things hung on those hooks. That would be this fictional self. I have certain abilities, I have certain tendencies, I have certain failures and successes. I have strong suit and then weak places. And I see myself as that sort of a geography, and I'm calling those pegs. Like that geography is kind of like these pegs, and I hang things on them. Oh, there's my strong suit, and I get strokes there. Well, there's my weak place. That's what happens. So I have a well-defined sense of the geography of the person that I think that I am. That is my specialness, and the Course is asking me to abandon it. Mm-hmm. That whole geography, I'm being asked to declare it empty, void. Do you realize how much work has gone into this geography of avoiding the weak spots or strengthening the weak spots or enhancing the strong suit or using the strong suit or spending lots of time in the strong suit, fearing the weak place? And so much of my life is on those hooks, on those pegs. And all of there's let's call it pegs on a wall. One peg has, a dozen purses. Another one has 15 hats hung on it or coats piled one on top of the other on these pegs. I can't even see the pegs, you see? Right. They're covered up with coats and hats and crap that over my lifetime I've hung these on these pegs. The Course isn't saying, dispense with the coats and the hats and all this, saying, get rid of your pegs. Mm-hmm. There's nothing on the wall, do you understand? We're not cleaning the pegs. We're getting rid of all of it so that if you want to hang a coat on it, it falls on the floor.
Yeah, okay.
You want to hang up a hat, there's nowhere for it to go. You want to stick your purse on the wall, there's no place for it to hang. Mm-hmm. It falls, do you understand? This is my specialness, those pegs, and it's well worked out, and I've spent so much love and care working those.
That's the gaudy frame that they talk about in another section.
Yeah, right.
And you can't see the picture because your focus is all on that frame. You can't see what's in the picture. It's right there. So that all of those things, those pegs, are similar to like a new jewel and a new little bauble over here that makes this frame like wide and thick, when it's saying you have to dispense of that. That's a similar analogy is all I'm saying. So that the Course uses.
The death of that self, the process, we have two sides, right? Like when the sun rises, at dawn, when the sun rises, there's a moment of radiant black. There is stuff in Vedic teachings about this, but there's like a radiant black where the darkness that is seeking to be dispelled. It's like they say, it's always darkest before the dawn.
Yes.
They're referring to this principle of you want the blackest part of night. Ironically, it's right when the sun is pushing up. The sun is pushing up into it. And then you see that first ray of light. It's before the first ray of light. There's that radiant blackness is the first indication of the dawn. The radiant blackness.
Right.
And that's why they have the morning star. Venus. Sometimes if you're in the out west, it's like glowing. Just looks like it's going to jump off the sky like a diamond. And it is it plays up how black that sky is. And but when you see the rays of the sun, that the originator of that brightness of solar light, the originator of it, which is this radiant light, that radiant light is where the power is. Okay?
Right.
So what I'm saying about this is, let's have a moment of, I don't know what you'd call respect or solitude, or even call it, what would you call it? Benediction for the loss of the fictional self. You've worked so hard.
Is that the darkness that you're talking about?
Yeah. When you take that saw and you start cutting those pegs off the wall so that you don't have anything to hang your coat on anymore, you're destroying yourself. Do you understand? You're destroying yourself. It's not like, hey, spring cleaning. No, you're on a ground. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what happens next. This was your orientation point. It was your roadmap for who you are, what you can do, what you can't do, who those people are, and what they are to me. It's a roadmap for everything. When you start sawing those things off the wall, it's not a moment of freedom. It's sadness. Everybody's got their own experience, right? I'm sure somebody's going to comment and say, "Hey, I had a great time." I don't know. When you're sawing off the work of a lifetime, that of how I relate specially to the world, it's that radiant blackness, and there's not much light in it.
When does the light come?
After you do that.
Yeah.
And that's why the
That's why I
crucifixion
asked.
ends in death.
Yes. Yeah.
It ends in a blackout.
So
the crucifixion doesn't fade into the dawn.
No, that's so the resurrection can happen.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
There is light.
Okay, so 12.
Yes.
Now you are merely asked that you pursue another goal with far less vigilance, with little effort, and with little time, and with the power of God maintaining it and promising success. Yet of the two, it is this one you find more difficult. The sacrifice of self you understand, nor do you deem this cost too heavy, but a tiny willingness, a nod to God, a greeting to the Christ in you. You find a burden wearisome and tedious, too heavy to be borne. Yet, to the dedication to the truth as God established it, no sacrifice is asked, no strain called forth, and all the power of heaven and the might of truth itself is given to provide the means and guarantee the goal's accomplishment. Notice my benediction speech, and I'm not retracting it, but this is a witness to my investment in a special self.
Right.
That I see it as burdensome, cumbersome, difficult, disorienting, difficult. Because what happens is, when it comes to, there's some other system, it's not coat hooks anymore when you get rid of all those pegs.
It says, that's the thing that we see, is we call it the sacrifice and everything. And yet it says, the sacrifice of self you understand, nor do you deem it this cost too heavy. And the sacrifice of self is all those things that we lay as special. But a tiny willingness, a nod to God, that's that movement. I'm telling you, it's just a little bit a greeting to the Christ in you. You find a burden, wearisome and tedious, too heavy to be borne. So we have a warped perception of needing to struggle through the process. It's telling us it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be a struggle. In other words, I could say, oh, I need to look at all that stuff I have on the pegs. I need to saw off those pegs and everything else. And God is tapping you right here and he goes, hello, you only need to move your thought system towards me, towards the Christ. If you just do that, the pegs are gone.
That's exactly what happens is like that. But there's that moment, okay? This is why we would rather deal with the difficulties of our life than the simple reality, the simple requirement of the willingness and whatnot. It's because that moment of picking up, I'm using the analogy, picking up the saw and putting it to the peg and to begin sawing, the willingness, not even the first stroke of the saw, it's not even the first stroke of the saw, the willingness to do it has terror in it. But once I've faced into that terror, exactly what you said, the pegs are gone.
Yeah.
But once I face into the terror,
right,
the pegs are gone.
Right. And so is the problem with the other or with myself or whatever. They're just...
I don't even want
like,
them to change anymore.
Yeah,
I don't notice why I wanted them to change.
Exactly. It just kind of fades out and joy is restored to your heart. It's amazing, actually. Okay. So is there anything in there? It's, to me, that one line, though, but a tiny willingness, a nod to God, a greeting to the Christ in you, a greeting to the Christ in you. I never thought of doing that. Greet the Christ within me. It's foreign, to think that I can actually have a communication to the Christ in me. You find a burden wearisome and tedious, too heavy to be borne. Yet to the dedication to the truth as God established it, no sacrifice is asked, no strain called forth. And all the power of heaven and the might of truth itself is given to provide the means and guarantee the goal's accomplishment. I don't know. I think we should just pull that one out and meditate on that one, because that is really key to understanding that the Course consistently says that it doesn't have to be this great burden. It feels to the ego it is. I mean, the ego is going to try and establish and keep its kingdom that it has pretended to have all along. I'm not going to say that if you haven't done any of this kind of work, that it won't definitely rise up and say, what the heck are you think you're doing? But it's saying it's easy.
Well, if I use that light, dark...
It's not a sacrifice.
If I use that light and dark analogy, the radiant darkness before the dawn hits, I have an addiction myself. I have an addiction to unnatural light. I have an addiction to fluorescent or especially incandescent light. We run it when it's dark and all this kind of stuff. It's a way of just avoiding the concept of darkness. It's like, I have total control. I turn it off. It's dark. Whoa. Okay, go to sleep or whatever. In other words, I have control over the light and the dark. I have control. In this other situation, I'm sitting in a house in a world of unnatural lighting that I have control over. And I actually have an image in my mind of when we lived in Bend, because Bend had beautiful sunrises. It was that radiant darkness.
Yeah.
You could see it, and the light. You could almost see a shimmering blackness before, around, what is it? It's like 4 o'clock in the morning or something like that, or even 3:45 to 4 or something like that. It's the shimmering blackness.
It's summertime then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The shimmering blackness, and then the aura breaks up from the horizon, and still you can see the blackness almost fleeing up into the sky. It's fleeing, and then it's gone. It's like the dawn just rakes across it, and it just goes away like that. So leaving the house and leaving the safety and the security of having controllable lights is a decision to abandon myself to a natural process of a darkness and an inevitable, irrevocable, impossible to stop light process It's impossible. I have no control over that.
Right.
But if I stay in the house with the lights on and always reassure myself that
I can turn it on. I can
well,
turn it off.
I can turn on and off, but then I go outside, and the sun's already up. So I'm never exposed to that sequence. I'm never exposed to the radiant dark, the sacred silence of that radiant loss of the special self, the radiant loss of being special in a circumstance or to other people or to a situation. Lose the specialness. If I'm not willing to walk out into that, and I constantly tweak it artificially through my addictions, my addiction to unnatural light, or in this case, things that enable me to never really see a loss of my specialness. I'm always constantly refiguring myself as a special thing in relation to people.
Right.
If I'm not willing to do that, I will never have the joy of that sequence that's burned in to, there's no pleasure like going from the blackness to the dawn. Everybody in the universe will tell you that, that's experienced it. And yet, I'd rather not.
Yeah. Well,
know what
that
I mean?
happens a lot.
Right?
Yeah. But you could change your mind. Change your mind. Get up early. Get out there and see that radiant black. That's what I say. Okay. Paragraph 13. You who believe it easier to see your brother's body than his holiness, be sure you understand what made this judgment. Here is the voice of specialness heard clearly, judging against the Christ and setting forth for you the purpose that you can attain and what you cannot do. Forget not that this judgment must apply to what you do with it as your ally. For what you do through Christ, it does not know. To him, this judgment makes no sense at all, for only what his Father wills is possible, and there is no alternative for him to see. Out of his lack of conflict comes your peace, and from his purpose comes the means for effortless. I'll say that again. And from his purpose comes the means for effortless accomplishment and rest. So, what's it going to be? You're going to just keep seeing your brother's body versus his holiness?
Okay, look.
That's when you hold on to the judgment.
I'm gonna dig in with my analogy a little bit more, because you have the brother. And the brother I have judgments of, I have a difficult life, whatever. And the brother can be a health problem I have with myself or a challenge with it, but whatever. It's any problem. That's a blackness. And I rush in with my special relationships to provide artificial lighting in that situation. It reassures me that all is well. Right. All is well, because I'm maintaining control over the switches. I've got control through my judgment, or I'm marching out of this one, or, well, we need to organize this way. Whatever it is, that's my artificial light that I'm shedding on that situation. And the beautiful line here, and from his purpose, that's God's purpose, comes the means for effortless accomplishment and rest. All this light turning and avoidance and switches and judgments and worrying about a certain circumstance or situation is my way of maintaining a special engagement with that. But in the other example, you leave that behind. I no longer have artificial wiring. I no longer have those artificial lights. I go outside of the house. I go away from artificial lighting. And now I abandon myself, okay? I'm abandoning myself to the process of called sunrise or dawn or the end of the night, whatever you want to look at it. Star rise or star set or whatever. I'm abandoning myself to a natural process. And with your person, your friend, any issue that you have in your life, by abandoning my relationship with it in terms of how I engage it, in this case, this person that I'm working with or that I'm engaged in, abandon it. Let it go. It's a sunrise we're looking at. It's a sunrise I'm looking at. Literally, sunrise. I don't have anything to do with it. I can only witness the blackness and wait.
Okay.
And wait. There's nothing for me to contribute there except this, the willingness to turn out the effing lights and abandon my addiction to those special hooks that I have in that situation. Abandon the special hooks. Turn out the lights. Sit in that dark. And then let a natural process happen. And you'd say, well, that's doing nothing. It's the opposite of doing nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
It's being vigilant for the kingdom.
Yeah, it is being vigilant.
And that very attentiveness to something that isn't special, isn't my control grid addiction to the circumstance, that is the shift in attention that the whole Course is longing for us to engage in alone.
Yes, it is. It is. Then you can see the Christ.
Right.
It will happen. All right. God bless. And thank you.
Thanks.